Hey guys, what's really going on with the wildfires in California? Is it an act of God or is it policy from the Democrats? Well, Steve Hilton has a very clear opinion and he is firing back at the Democrats. In fact, speaking about Ted Lieu, he said we take his righteous indignation a bit more seriously well, you just got to check it out yourself, guys. Leave a like while you watch this clip.
I thank the gentleman for yielding. First, I want to assure Mr. Lieu that Messrs. Hilton and Ring and Greenhunt are three of the most insightful experts on California public policy that I've had the honor to work with during my 45 years of public service, and I can't imagine a more distinguished panel than we have before us right now. Mr. Lieu might also be surprised to learn that before the modern era, California lost 4.5 million acres a year on average to catastrophic fire. Then in the 20th century, we established land management agencies to do a little of the gardening ourselves instead of leaving it to nature. We auctioned off excess timber to logging companies that paid us to remove the excess. We leased public lands to cattle and sheep ranchers to suppress brush growth through grazing. We did controlled burns to remove undergrowth. We cut fire breaks to contain fires. We used herbicides to keep brush from residential areas. We put out fires before they could explode out of control. And our fire losses declined from 4.5 million acres a year on average to just 250,000 acres a year throughout the 20th century. But we don't do those practices anymore. Our fire losses are now back up to an average of 1.5 million acres in 2020, 4.5 million acres. Mr. Greenhunt, what happened?
Thanks, Congressman. It just seems like an ideological shift. We've moved towards land preservation at all costs. And I was just looking through, thinking of
but it doesn't preserve the land, does it? It's caused the incineration of the land.
Exactly. I mean, the idea was to preserve species. I mean, we pointed out before that we. And some of it's growth control, too. Pointed out that a project was stopped for hardening the telephone poles over concerns about an endangered weed. It's this, yeah.
Mr. Ring, is this a policy issue or is this an act of God?
Everything's an act of God, but policy has a lot to do with what actually happens. California's forests, since the enforcement of environmental regulations became more aggressive, are now overgrown. I know you're very familiar with this. The average tree density, and this is verified by several studies from universities in California, Merced, Berkeley, Davis, elsewhere. The tree density in the Central Sierra is now about 5 times what's historically normal. The ladder fuels, which would ordinarily, that's the scrub and underbrush and young trees, which would normally burn in controlled burns or fires started by lightning strikes. When that doesn't happen anymore, you have trees that are allegedly dying because of climate change, but they're actually dying because you've got so many more trees competing with the same amount of light, nutrients.
You can actually tell the boundary between the private lands that are not subject to these laws and the public lands just by the condition of the forests on each side of that boundary line. How clever of the climate to know exactly where the boundary lines are and only decimate the federal lands. I can offer some good news, and that is in 2016, we got a categorical exclusion from NEPA for forest thinning projects in the Tahoe Basin Management Unit. That simple change has taken the environmental studies from 4.5 years down to just a few months. It's taken the environmental reports from 800 pages down to a few dozen. It's increased the timber yield on the Tahoe Basin from 1 million board feet a year to 9 million board feet a year. It's tripled the amount of treated acreage. That's what saved the town of South Lake Tahoe from the Caldor fire. Unfortunately, right across the boundary line was the town of Grizzly Flats that was not protected by this law. It was completely incinerated by the same fire. Now, we got those provisions finally this year, just a few weeks ago, into the Fix Our Forests Act. It passed the House with 141 Democrats opposing it. Mr. Hilton, I'll give you the final word. What would you say to those Democrats?
I think I'd first of all say to Mr. Lieu, I think we'd take his righteous indignation a little bit more seriously if he wasn't in nearly every single case the first to jump on one of the terrible tragedies that we see too often in our country of mass shooting, to immediately call for the kinds of reforms that would stop it happening.
These fires have nothing to do with mass shootings.
Exactly. And that's what we're here to do, to stop people dying, to stop people losing their homes, to stop the terrible human and economic cost of these fires. That's what we are here arguing for, those kinds of changes that could be made and would stop the severity and impact of these kinds of fires.
Gentlemen's time has expired.
All right, guys. Lot to discuss, a lot to break down here. But first of all, I want to say thanks, everyone, for watching this video up to this point. Thanks for leaving a like. Every single like helps out the channel, helps out the YouTube algorithm, and I appreciate everybody for that. And guys, if you're not a member of The Difference, hit that subscribe button. Join The Difference, guys. We're just a small group right now of Christian conservatives that are trying to make a difference for our country and for the world. Okay, let's talk about this wildfire crisis. Why are wildfires getting worse despite all the climate policies that are being pushed by the left? Steve Hilton and expert witnesses here exposed how radical environmental policies, not climate change, are the biggest cause of devastating wildfires. Now, compare past wildfire statistics when proper land management was actually in place to today's catastrophic numbers, and the truth becomes very clear. Did you know that California used to manage its forests effectively, drastically reducing wildfires? What changed? Before modern environmental restrictions, California used control burns, logging, grazing to maintain forests. And this kept wildfires at a fraction, guys, fraction of today's level. Private landowners who aren't restricted by the same environmental regulations have far healthier forests than the ones that are federally managed. And the same policies that are hurting California are being pushed nationwide. So what happens when this very same ideology begins to spread? That's what I'm concerned about. Why do Democrats insist on preserving forests by letting them become overgrown and unmanageable? When you think about it, it really makes no sense. The very regulations that are meant to preserve forests are actually fueling bigger and deadlier wildfires. Bureaucratic red tape prevents common sense measures like thinning out forests and controlled burns. I'm from Texas. We've been doing it in Texas my whole life, guys. And guess what? We don't have the same level of wildfires in Texas as they're having there in California. And Texas is just as dry, guys. There's a project to harden telephone poles against fires. It was stopped because of concerns over an endangered weed. Government red tape, guys. It isn't just making wildfires worse. It's making Americans less safe in their own communities. All right. If the facts are this clear, then why did 141 Democrats vote against forest management reforms? Doesn't make any sense. The Fix Our Forest Act was a simple, effective solution to streamline environmental reviews and allow better land management. But most Democrats opposed it. Why? Why? Areas protected under this law saw timber yields increase. They saw forest treatment triple, saving South Lake Tahoe from total destruction. Is this about protecting the environment, or is it just another example of Democrats clinging to radical policies no matter the cost? I mean, why did Steve Hilton call out Representative Ted Lieu for his hypocrisy? It doesn't make any sense. Hilton slammed Lieu for his selective outrage, pointing out how quickly Lieu demands policy changes after mass shootings, but refuses to support life-saving wildfire prevention. The left keeps constantly saying, we must do something. We've got to do something in certain crises. We got to do something. We got to stop this. Yet here, where solutions actually exist, they fight against them. Why? This exposes the left's true priority, and I've been saying this for a long time, that they're just pushing an agenda, not actually protecting people. This is the bigger picture. If Democrats are failing this badly at forest management, what other policies are they botching? Whether it's wildfires, crime, inflation, or the border crisis, we see the same trend. Over and over again, Democrats ignore real solutions in favor of radical ideology. Many of the same environmental extremists are pushing electric vehicle mandates, high energy costs, restrictive farming policies, all in the name of climate change. How much more evidence do we really need before voters hold them accountable? All right, final question for you guys. Do Democrats actually care about the environment? Or are they just pushing their radical agenda at all costs? Comment down below. Let me know what you think. Do you think that poor land management is the real cause of wildfires, or do you think it was an act of God? Maybe it was both. Also, share this video, guys, with your friends so that more people can see the truth. The way you can help out this channel, guys, is to subscribe, hit that like button, and then also, if you want to go crazy, guys, become a channel member. Channel memberships are live. There's a link right down below you. You can click join, help out, and support the channel. All right, guys, remember, like, share, subscribe for more unfiltered news, guys. This is Nolan Alders. I'll see you again in the next video, guys, very, very soon. Take it easy.